Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to this regular board meeting of the Pullman School District for May 8th, 2019. We'll begin as we always do with our flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. The next item of business is approval of the agenda. We have one small change to tonight's agenda. There will not be a superintendent's report. Superintendent Maxwell is currently down at 5th grade camp tonight, so we'll just cross that from the agenda. And with that change, I would entertain a motion.
I will move that we approve the agenda as revised.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, agenda is approved. We'll next move on to reports, correspondence, and program, beginning with the Pullman High School ASB report, if there is a representative here. It appears there is not a representative of the Pullman High School ASB. So we'll move on to board reports, beginning with Director Weed.
Justin, do you have anything we need to talk about? Oh, well, no, I mean, fine. I walked right into that one, didn't I? Okay. Well, then I will have no report since Justin's not going to carry me tonight.
All right. Thank you. Director Roberts?
Nothing to report this evening.
Okay. Thank you. Director Everman?
We had our District 10 meeting up in Palouse last week. It was actually very illuminating for me. They have a great robotics team. I was just amazed. They have a robot that will climb stairs and will put, being a basketball player, I empathize with this, shoot the ball into a hoop. And the robot made 1 out of 2, 500. So that's great. That was about my average, 500.
All right, thank you. And I will just report that immediately prior to this meeting, Director Roberts and I attended a Communication Advisory Committee meeting, looking forward to implementing some interesting new communication strategies. And Shannon was there also. Productive meeting. Okay, moving on to program reports. The first report on the agenda is a visual arts report presented by Assistant Superintendent Emery.
So tonight we're going to do something a little bit different.
Okay.
Best instructional strategy is to provide movement. So we are going to go into the commons area. The visual arts show that students presented last week is still up and available. So we are going to tour the visual arts that are out in the commons area, and now I'm going to give you a time limit, okay? 5 minutes, because I could see how this could go, okay? So there's a Susan, I wasn't looking at you.
Yeah.
But 5 minutes, there's art along this wall of the commons. There's a kiosk that has art. There's also some art as you go further up just to the 2nd floor.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, 5 minutes. Very good.
We usually have our presentation during class.
You're after.
know, figure out where you want to.
So if I stood right here with it? Okay. Sure. Here. Yeah.
We'll run a check on that.
Yeah, I'll be literally doing anything. Like, I don't think I'll be able to go back.
Okay, I'll be.
Now it is.
Okay. Well, thank you. That was very fun.
Oh, one thing is that most of this art, I'm sure, and art throughout the district will be on display during the Festival of Arts on May 18th. So
Mhm.
That's
Put that
why
in
the
your calendar.
timeliness was perfect.
That is good.
It was up and that we, because Fine Arts Week was last week,
Yes.
right? And so it was put up for that and it was still up. They're going to continue some of the components of Fine Arts Week throughout the rest of the year.
Oh,
So,
good.
very cool.
All right. Shall we move on then to the science adoption update presented by Grace Grow and Holly Steele?
Well, you thought that was wonderful. Wait till you hear this presentation, right, Holly? Okay. So Holly and I are going to do an update on the science adoption, and I appreciate Holly being here because I asked her really to talk to Mystery Science because she was in the used it for a long time, was one of the people that was saying how great it was. So we appreciate that. She's going to talk to that in a few minutes. So I'm just going to do an overview. Could I do a celebration real fast?
Mm-hmm.
So our daughter, who's not even 15 and a half, has started driver's ed, and I have survived in the car so far of her driving around the neighborhood. So
Why isn't your husband doing this?
good question. We're going to talk to him about that later.
Not even here.
Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you. It's fun. This is a fun time for us. Yeah, very fun. So one of the things to talk about real quick is a process that OSPI talks about, best practice for an adoption process, and we went through these in the last 2 years. This is our third year of the science adoption, end of the third year coming up, and we went through all the process, and now we are in phase 4 and phase 3 and at PHS and a couple things, and then phase 4 and 5 for K-8. Okay, thank you. So PHS right now, AP Chemistry, they added a course, and text has been adopted. We did purchase some materials last summer, some of the things to help with labs and such like that. We did a pretty big allotment purchase for that to help with PHS. Biology, Justin and Roberta will talk to that, about the new course and how they changed that course. They'll talk about that. Earth and Space Science, we added a course that's coming up. The text has not been selected yet. Physics, the text is forthcoming, so we've been talking about that. And physical science also, the text is forthcoming. So that's what PHS is at right now in their science. So review so far how far we have come. At the beginning in our process, we reviewed, studied, and unpacked the NGSS. If you know anything about NGSS, it is pretty detailed and it is specific. So that was where we began as a committee. Really wanted to make sure we understood our standards and dug into them. So after we did that, we researched and evaluated materials for a pilot using a rubric that has been also shown to be best practice to determine if any of those resources are NGS designed. Decided on 2 resources to pilot. Teachers kept data and notes on the resources. They shared their findings. Once we talked about it, we surveyed teachers, and feedback was negative for both resources. This is K-8, and it was unanimous. Am I right on that? Unanimous across the board for both resources. So what do? We went back to the drawing board, did more research. I reached out to EST, OSPI, WSU, and other districts about NGS designed materials, and there was nothing that was good enough. And I'm talking, I went everywhere. I even, during my fellows, I was in contact with somebody from Colfax who kind of does the same job, and what they found, they were in the same situation. So it was time to make a decision. One of the things that we found was, when we were doing our research, is that educators were scrambling for text to match the science NGSS. NGS has been out, now, for 5 years? This might be the 6th year. And publishers, it is so detailed, like I said, because of the 3 dimensions and how it's all the cross-cutting concepts that publishers cannot do enough to align it. It's not designed well enough. So what we decided as a committee was, with all the research and feedback from our staff, committee, and other experts, we decided to build our own curriculum map around NGSS. The committee decided to use Mystery Science as a major resource and fill in any holes with other literature and resources that meet NGSS. So one of the things we talked about in the committee is some of the teachers had used Mystery Science as a supplemental resource while we were trying to figure out other resources to help us. And they found that Mystery Science really listened to feedback. So when they would use Mystery, the teachers would email them and say, hey, it's missing this, or it's missing this, or it's not designed this way. And they would update it. And let me tell you something, it is very engaging for students. One of the downfalls of the other resources we piloted was the lack of engagement. Kids were bored. There was no inquiry. There was no discovery. It was mostly workbooks. So that's what we, and with mystery science, it is NGS design, but like any resource, we need to do better by filling in any holes. And the way we do that is know our standards, and that's where we began, at the very beginning. Open Science Ed 2. This is where the middle school really is focusing. They were given a grant through OSPI to be part of some Open Science Ed curriculum, and they went to some trainings. It was Jeff and Marla, I believe. So they went to that. It was paid for a grant, and so that's what they're trying to use in their classroom as well. And then also building the curriculum map, or scope sequence, whatever one you prefer to call it. Where are we right now, Kate? We're in the implementation, we're in the maintenance. Scope and sequence curriculum map. I prefer curriculum map. I don't know why, I just do. Scope and sequence is also what it's called. It maps out what you do for the year. What this is supposed to do then is we are then a cohesive unit, right? That way any teacher that comes in then, a novice teacher or anybody new to our district can look at that and we can be on the same page. As long as it's designed around the standards. So it is a living document, meaning you know better we're going to change it. It's always interchangeable. Work sessions allow teachers to create a great draft for each grade, and they put the time in. They really worked hard on it, so thanks to the teachers. The next checkpoint on our next collaboration day, the teams that decided to be part of this, the people that are on the committee, and we also invited other teachers who wanted to be part of it, to build it. They're going to check with their whole team on May 15th and say, hey, what do we need to add? What are we missing? And then we're going to move on from there. It is pretty close to being completed. This is an example of one, the fourth grade one. So I'm going to pass this out to you. And you could, because, I don't know, it's hard to see.
We're not going to be tested later, are we?
No.
Oh, good.
I would always let you know that, because I don't want to trick you.
Yeah. Doesn't take much.
Thank you.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what you'll see is how we broke it down here. And as a committee, we decided what we felt like, based on other curriculum maps and scope and sequences, what we found to be the best targets we wanted to hit. First of all, we have to have the standards on there. We need to have critical vocabulary because it's just, we need to know vocab in order for everybody to learn. You'll see that then it talks about the resources, the ELA connection, our assessments and materials. The ELA connection, that's one of the holes that we noticed Mystery Science had, was the literature part. But in order for things to be authentic in our learning, we know that we have other literature that we teach in social studies, ELA, that can hit those holes. And there's a lot out there. So for an example, this is a perfect example. If you look at fourth grade, they will fill it in with the social studies. I survived the eruption of Mount St. Helens. That's perfectly with their mystery, which is about volcanoes, which is their standard. Yeah, that's authentic and fluid. We're not just chunking. It fits. We did a really nice job on this. And the rest of grades are doing this as well. Now, as we know better and learn better, we're going to fill more holes in. So this is what this kind of looked like. What's great is, as teachers are doing this, then we can go directly to the link, and it would come up. I can figure out this. Anyways, it would come up. Where it would all be right there for you. Isn't that great? Cool. It's great. They did all the work on that. I'm really proud of it. Now, this will eventually be on our website for all teachers to access. It'll be so they don't have to go digging for it. I know some teachers like binders, and that's fine. They could always print this out themselves, but really it's just accessible once it's on the website where teachers get access. Any questions about this curriculum map right now, looking at that before I move on? A lot of work went into this, and it's still going to be a lot of work, but I'm really, really proud of the committee.
How many of the teachers have started using this? Most of them or all of them? Or?
Most of them have used it if they've been experienced teachers. Some of our novice teachers have not because we're just putting it together. And that's the goal, is for us to have this ready, set in place by the end of this year. So next year, it's ready to go. Yeah, yes, yeah,
Is this information available to parents as well?
it will be, yes. Obviously, we're not going to have it be editable because we can imagine what could happen if somebody wants to go in there and change it and say, no, we're taking that assessment out.
No, but earlier in the year, a parent was concerned that didn't know what their child was doing in school.
Absolutely,
And now they can't say that.
exactly. Well, yes, let's hope not, right?
Well,
So so when you say it's available online, it's not behind a login for teachers, it's available?
It will be
widely?
that way,
Okay.
yes, yes. Absolutely, we don't want to hide anything. We want them to know what's happening. So.
I think sometimes the student will tell the parent, I don't know what's going on.
Exactly. I understand that. What'd you do to escape school today? Nothing. Yeah. So absolutely, great question. Anybody else?
How messy was the lava experience?
I don't know, but that's a great question. I bet you're pretty messy. But fun,
yeah,
right?
it looks a little scary, but yeah, it would
But
be
fun.
fun. Oh, yeah.
Science should be messy, shouldn't it?
Sure,
We should be-
absolutely.
yes. Okay. That. So, ongoing costs. It's all about the Benjamins because let's be realistic. We need to know about ongoing costs. We need to continue to provide professional development. Instruction is number one. We can have all the resources we want, but we need good instruction. We need to provide PD for that. STEM training, that goes along with the science, obviously. Materials for labs, projects. We want some real world hands-on activities. That's how you get that engagement piece for kids. Resources, anything that comes that we see that is really, really research-based and hits the NGSS, we need to look into that. And we need to supplement. Literature, Science Weekly, Scholastic magazines, novels, anything that hits that hole with the ELA component. Subscriptions, any online simulations like Gizmo, that's something biology used that we piloted. News ELA, it is a great resource for science, anything nonfiction, but it has a lot of scaffolded Lexile components for science articles. So this is what we're looking for, a professional development plan. Intro to scope and sequence, new teacher orientation, of course. ESL, we're going to try to get some building science leaders because we have some great resources. Holly is really passionate about science. There's quite a few other ones, and so we need to utilize that and really use that in the buildings. They're going to help to facilitate implementation of that scope and sequence. We need to continue to unpack standards. This can help during PLC time and ongoing PD opportunities. On learning improvement days, we need to continue to have implementation of scope and sequence, development of the mystery science resource, really utilize teachers again, help show some really great things that they haven't thought to use for mystery science and STEM. And of course, we need to continue to analyze our resources, data, teacher feedback, and student voice in determining our needs. Move forward. With that, Holly was grateful enough to, when I asked her, I was grateful enough for her to go ahead and talk to me. So thank you, Holly. Holly's going to talk.
Okay, so I just put a slide together with some different snapshots of mystery science pages, what they look like to teachers, and a little bit to students. The cow down there is the video. Each mystery, I've been using mystery science for about 2 years now. Started using it just as a supplemental. I needed something more with the new standards out, and I really liked it. I fell in love with how excited the kids were about science and how much they wanted to do with it, and the different directions you could go from that, seeing their interest, how much more you could pull in. So there, you would pull up a page like the What Can Magnets Do, and it has your activity supplies, start the mystery there. There's also an extras area up above. The exploration that says it's about 15 minutes, that's your video. They introduce the idea, they introduce the mystery. Each lesson is a mystery that you go through the process of solving and answering the question. And then once you get through the exploration, there's an activity that relates. The extras, I think, they're really flexible, and that's really nice. Sometimes you don't have a lot of time for certain units, and sometimes you want to keep going with something that you see the kids really interested in. You want to keep going with it. So those extras there, this one has about an hour worth of extras. The other one has three hours worth. You can kind of decide how much time you want to spend on each lesson and where you need to hit for. So it's really flexible for teachers in that way. It's really easy to access. Under those extras is where you're going to find links like WIAA. They directly link you to articles related, so you don't have to. They also link to a lot of ReadWorks articles that a lot of teachers set up with. So a lot of stuff that we are accustomed to using anyway was already there. So I found that really their videos are really engaging for the kids. That, for instance, that show there, we're talking about, that one actually came from the How Can You Unlock a Door? They relate it because there's all these inventions in magnets. We talk about the inventions. One of those is these cow magnets, where cows will sometimes eat pieces of fence, and they're like, that's what their stomach. So somebody saw a problem, they went out, they invented these magnets that are safe for the cows to swallow, and then it attracts all the metal to get it away from the. So the kids are just in awe at this, right? They're like, what is a cow magnet? So from there, I could go find supplemental things about cow magnets, but they also talk about maglev trains and how trains are moving faster than ever before because of magnets. How they can stop the track just because of attraction and repelling. And it's amazing to them in the real world. So they use a lot of real world experience.
And they also pose problems. They give opportunity, they stop and pause with questions so they can talk.
Yeah,
So it's more
and
than
that's
just
my
like,
discuss.
It's more than just it's more than just watching a video or people telling you.
So within the video, this one says discuss 3 of 3. So that was the third time they had stopped to discuss something that had been happening in the video. So they'll do a little spiel about the cows or whatever, the maglev. Then they stop and they have you discuss it with a partner. The way they outline it is really nice management-wise too. That Doug is of Mystery Science. So Doug will say, "Okay, I want you to stop and turn to the person next to you and talk." And so he's already setting up that management. But then, of course, I'm there to say, "Hey, did you hear what Doug said? Oh, turn here." And, I mean, it's not taking over. The video is not taking over the teaching part of it, but it's helping us that management piece of it because they're already staged. It makes it. The discussion questions. Sometimes I add on to them. Sometimes they do a great job. But again, there's that possibility the video automatically pauses.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I really liked it.
I really like that
Stuff we're adding.
the kids or you can submit questions and they'll come up with an experiment to help you
Yeah.
find the answer.
Yeah,
That
actually,
is
I'm glad you
awesome.
mentioned that because these all came from full-size units from the page, but they also have mini lessons that are quick 5-minute videos that we use for brain breaks. Give them the choice videos. I've been loving my brain break the other day, and every time he gets to pick 3 brain breaks throughout the day, he picks Mystery Science. Out of all these movement and dancing, wanted to watch. And kids get to submit the questions, and then they get to see, like, this is a 3rd grader. They always love the 3rd grader question. This was a 3rd grader who wanted to know how glass was made. That was they do a quick little lesson, and then we go back and so even when it's not involved with our big units, so engaging, and they want to do it.
Well, how you mentioned the word engaging probably, I don't know, 5 times. And it is. That's where it has to be. And like we stated, that's going to standards, and we can.
And they really are flexible, or they are responsive to teachers' requests. There was a lesson that I taught today, actually, that has been updated a couple of times because Conley, who taught it before I did a couple of years ago, she taught it, and it was a disaster. Whatever happened, it was about little lizards, and they died. And there was, you know, some emotions there. And it was about natural selection and brown lizards eat the green lizards. But she emailed and said, this is how it went. They ask you to rate every lesson after you're done teaching it. And they bug you until you do it. So you rate the lesson, you give comments, and she gave a comment. And before I taught it that same year, they had things. And today we did it. The kids were amazing. They loved it. Nobody was out there litter being eaten. So they really responded well to teachers, and I saw it quickly.
Dear.
So when you say we've added stuff to it, you through that process of doing the surveys afterwards, back, and then they respond to that. And
They add to it. I also add things as I see necessary. All the assessment documents you open are editable, so I can,
oh, that's what I was going to ask. Okay, cool.
take things
Nice.
out that I didn't get to or that I didn't find necessary. I can add my own things.
That is awesome. And the engagement.
I kind of want to go look
How
at
else do you
CalMax
learn?
now, to be
You
honest.
should watch it. It's really cool.
I know it. Isn't that crazy?
And they also have their own scope and sequence, which is great. So if we ever needed to start somewhere, we look there, but that's for the teachers. Great. Any other questions for us?
No.
So I just want to make a couple comments first. Thanks to Grace and Holly. Holly has been with us since the very beginning of science and was one of them who said we can't buy something that isn't any good. And so it's because of teachers like Holly who have really led this and said, whoa, let's do something that makes the most sense. One of the things when we shifted to this concept, and you know, this is just one unit. When we shifted to this concept, Grace and I talked about it, and we had to have a standard about what had to be included because we have seen from other districts curriculum maps or scope and sequence that has no detail to it. It might have the standards and that's about it. And that's not to our standard at all because this is our curriculum. So we have to be really clear on what we expect. This is what we expect. And if we didn't have this kind of detail, it would always be a mystery about what it was we were going to get. So I've just been really pleased with the work that they've done and have put all this together. It's really exciting.
Yeah.
And it looks very helpful. Huh? Thank you guys for doing
Yeah,
that.
it is. We're excited about it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
And now the PHS science course sequence.
Who would meet at the podium? Well, Justin and I will meet at the podium.
Okay.
Thank you.
Justin's my wingman. Okay, so this doesn't require action from the board, but we wanted to let you know about a change in sequence that we're going to make in high school science. Currently, we offer physical science in the 9th grade and biology in the 10th grade. And I think probably back to the time I was in school, that's been the sequence. Well, with the change in the standards, that sequence doesn't make sense anymore. And you see the bullet points below, but what we're going to do is change biology to be a 9th grade course, and some districts have done this a while ago, and physical science becomes a 10th grade course. And the reasoning is that within the next generation science standards, the mathematical concepts are pretty challenging, and if we keep the content the same at 9th grade, kids really tend to struggle. But if they're taking their first high school math class in 9th grade, along with physical science, they're kind of getting it just like, it's like drinking out of a fire hose. And so our thought was that if we shifted physical science to 10th grade after they've had a year of high school math, it will help them. And then they're simultaneously enrolled in a math class as well. And that the biology content and standards are not as math driven. So our thinking is that we put those two, that we shift the order of those two. So you can imagine we have a year, we're going to start school next year, right? And our ninth graders have taken physical science this year. They'll be 10th graders, and we have ninth graders coming in. And at some point, we have to make the transition. So we're going to jump in next year and teach biology to ninth and 10th graders.
A lot of biology.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of biology. Yeah. So we'll have all kids take biology in ninth and 10th grades. And then after that, ninth graders will take biology, 10th graders will take physical science. We also are anticipating that by shifting the physical science to 10th grade, it will set a greater opportunity for kids to be more successful in chemistry. And chemistry is typically taken as a junior. And so they'll do those heavy chem units at the end of the year so that they transition right into chemistry. So we're happy to answer any questions about the plan. We just wanted you to be aware because it is going to be a change.
A good change.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
change.
yeah. We're excited, and it's driven. And totally, the teachers were the ones who said, "Hey guys, we got to make this change." They could really see the change in the standards and the need to do it. So I really appreciate their work on
Yeah,
this.
they've done a lot of work to make this happen, and they're all very excited to, all the folks that will now be taking on biology next year are excited to do it because they think it's really positive for our
Sounds like a win.
Yeah, great.
All right.
Thank
you.
you.
All right.
Get to
Yeah,
do the
thank you.
frogs in biology? They don't get frogs in biology?
One of the things we'll talk about later.
Thank you. We've now reached a part of our agenda where I'd like to invite Lincoln Middle School Principal Cameron Grow to the podium. We're going to be presenting our Dedicated Teacher Award this evening, and Principal Grow nominated tonight's winner, and so we're eager to hear some remarks.
I would love to
Yes.
give some remarks. And first of all, thank you so much. We were able to give you some things to read about Amy, but really tonight I wanted to bring up 4 main points. So I was hired almost 12 years ago, principal at Lincoln Middle School, and Amy had just started there. The first thing I noticed about Amy is really her focus on student learning and how important it is to her and everything she does in her classroom. From that first day, trying to figure out how we can get kids up to standard in the area of writing and how focused that is. Grace, can you move over? I'm trying to talk to Amy. It'd be great. And how important it is for their future. And then her leadership within our school, our district, especially in the area of English language arts. I remember just having conversations about what students needed to do to make standard in the area of writing and how focused she was to ensure that all kids would get there in the area of reading and writing. And that was, she taught me quite a bit. Second piece I would bring up is she's a fabulous teammate. We talk about having great teachers in our districts. I want great teachers who are great teammates. Makes our team stronger, makes our school stronger. What that means is sometimes you have a novice teacher who you just hire and you match her up with Amy Bumpus. And Amy gets to show that teacher how important, number one, the occupation and what we do in teaching, how important the work with kids really, truly is, how much you need to love kids and what you're teaching, and then how much work goes into that. So you being a mentor teacher within our building has made our building stronger, made our district stronger. So all of those things we talk about within the classroom, it's the outside the classroom too that can matter as well. So I wanted to bring that part up because I'm not sure I focused on that enough in my write-up about her. In her classroom, she's focused on this, but really the last few years, the idea of keys to success. And really the focus of why and how why is what we are learning today important to what we're going to do in the future. and that focus and that idea of 7th graders, maybe who have traditionally struggled. What does that look like later on in life? I mean, how many times have we heard that? Why am I learning this today? And that relationship back to this is why, and this is why it's important. That sets you apart. Not only does Amy do that, Amy, because she has worked so hard with our 7th grade team, all of them use that language. All of them focus on the why. What does that look like, and how can that affect you in the future? That's so powerful. And last but not least, you don't allow kids to fail. That's the most powerful part. Think about over the last 11 or so years, those conversations we've had about kids who are struggling at home, who are really doing those things in the classroom that are almost negatively affecting where they're going to go in the future. Think about how many times you brought them into my office and had that heart-to-heart saying, I'm with you. You can do this. That's why you were chosen. And I know this. You've been with us for 11, 12 years. You make our kids better. And I know that because one of my kids have gone through your class. And you made her better. And so I wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Just glad I didn't cry. Because I know this. We talked about being a teammate. It doesn't include just with teachers and the rest of your staff. It's with administrators as well. And I know Justin knows this. Because even when we're struggling, you're there for us. And so that's really important. So I wanted to say thank you. And by the way, you made an amazing choice. So I wanted to say thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Well, yeah.
I just want to, I'm just blown away and so honored. Thank you, Cameron, for such kindnesses. It is such a joy and a passion to spend all day, every day with 12 and 13-year-olds. I love it. I am the teacher I am this year because of the way Cameron has supported me and pushed me, and just he has empowered me to grow into the kind of teacher that I am. I have been so supported by this district in so many countless ways. I've been allowed to become a leader, which is not something I ever would have seen myself as, and so I am who I am because of your influence, and I am grateful. So thank you for this. This means the world. Thank you.
We believe there's normally a certificate, and yeah, you'll get a certificate.
Suitable for training.
This award is one of the highlights of our year as a board. It's an honor just to be nominated, and we read incredible nominations for many. For me, something that really stood out in talking about making sure that learning is so personal to students, for all of them, and really reaching out. Great job you do. We're just okay, and to close out our programs tonight, We have Eliza Campbell, a PHS student. Okay, I wasn't prepped on this, so I'm not sure what we're about to see, but looking forward to it.
It's nothing weird.
Okay.
I can tell you all about comics. That's what we're here for today. So Eliza is going to be competing this Saturday at the State FFA convention for what's called Creed speaking. And so Creed is a 5-paragraph speech written a very long time ago. But they present this 5-paragraph speech and then they get asked questions about it. And so she has it to state, so she's sub-district state.
Wonderful.
So she has 31 other people. Maybe go to nationals or the opportunity to be placed on stage. So she's going to be presenting today, and to give a little practice, we appreciate you letting her come and do this. We'll try to run that, and then I'm going to ask her a question, and then. Okay. All right.
The FFA Creed by M. Tiffany. I believe in the future of agriculture, with a faith born not of words, but of deeds, achievements won by the present and past generations of agriculturists, in the promise of better days through better ways, even as the better things we now enjoy have come to us from the struggles of former years. I believe that to live and work on a good farm, or to be engaged in other agricultural pursuits, is pleasant as well as challenging. For I know the joys and discomforts of agricultural life and hold an inborn fondness for those associations, which even in hours of discouragement, I cannot deny. I believe in leadership from ourselves and respect from others. I believe in my own ability to work efficiently and think clearly, with such knowledge and skill as I can secure, and in the ability of progressive agriculturists to serve our own and the public interest in producing and marketing the product of our toil. I believe in less dependence on begging and more power in bargaining, in the life abundant and enough honest wealth Pell made it so for others as well as myself, in less need for charity and more of it when needed, in being happy myself and playing square with those whose happiness depends upon me. I believe that American agriculture can and will hold true to the best traditions of our national life, and that I can exert an influence in my home and community, which will stand solid for my part in that inspiring task. Thank you.
All right, Eliza, why is it so important that a person in agriculture shows leadership as well as respect?
It's important that people in agriculture show leadership and gain it from others, or gain respect from others, because as a community itself in general, we need to be able to have a leader that respects us, but also carries that leadership ability through. So if we as a society are able to understand the idea to earn respect, we must give it first, we're going to have a more successful outcome. So to read back to agriculturists themselves, if we're able to address others with respect and show respect to them while maybe selling a product, which is one of the other competitions I do, is ag sales. If we're able to show respect to them by being respectful during a sales call, then they'll respect us back, and that lets us gain more leadership ability. Through FFA itself, I've learned a lot about leadership, and it's only my so I'm excited for the other 4 years I'll get to see the organization, and I'm excited to learn and grow from it and be able to apply it to my life as it. And I'm excited to be able to help others learn about leadership, be able to give them respect in order to.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, have you sold
Great
all
eye
your,
contact.
did you sell all your plants? Did you sell all the plants?
I have a few left, but I have some daisies left, I think.
gazanias, yeah. It was great. Congratulations. It was a really great plant sale.
Yeah, we got a lot of people.
Yeah, you did.
Thanks for coming to give us your presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate it.
Geez.
Good luck.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's only freshmen.
Yeah.
I like how she smiled the whole time she talked to you.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what you want. It was...
Oh, I think she was just laughing at you.
Yeah.
I don't think she was really
Well, there's a lot to laugh.
All right. The next part of the agenda is the visitors section, and it appears that
The
All our
visitors are
visitors
all
are
all of
leaving.
our visitors are leaving. So, thank you for being here. I won't bother reading the information about the visitors section. So next, let's move on to the consent agenda. To expedite business at a board meeting, the board approves the use of a consent agenda, which includes items considered to be routine in nature. Any item which appears on the consent agenda may be removed from the consent agenda by a member of the board and voted on separately. The remaining items will be voted on by a single motion. Tonight's consent agenda consists of warrants, minutes, transfer requests, personnel report, professional and personal services contracts, overnight field trip request, and ASB fundraisers. And I would now entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
All right.
All right, the consent agenda is approved. Next, we'll move on to action items. We have 3 policies that have been previously discussed by the board, and the board will now take action by motion. The first policy we'll be discussing is policy 3231, I should say we'll be acting on, student records.
So there were no changes to this policy since Dr. Maxwell presented it to you. And if you remember, it the change in this is to allow records to be transferred, even if students have outstanding fees, and it includes official juvenile court records and history of violence that must.
A quick point of order, should we adjust the presenter to be Berta and not Bob for as an amended?
I can do that.
Thank you. I have no questions about the policy.
Would you like to make a motion?
I will move that we approve revisions to policy 3231 student records.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve revisions to policy 3231 student records. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Those revisions are approved. Next, we'll move on to policy 4120, school support organization.
So you might remember that this one speaks to if there isn't a PTO, PTA, that kind of an organization, another parent group can be recognized by the school principal as the official body through which parents, staff, and students will unite their efforts.
Does anyone have any questions?
Move that we approve policy 4120.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we approve revisions to policy 4120, school support organization. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? All right. And finally, policy 4220, complaints concerning staff or program.
So this one has been updated, was its most recent language. Also includes a cross-reference to policy 2020, and as you remember, the procedure was included in the last.
I move approval of policy 4220, complaint concerning staff or program.
I will second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we approve revisions to policy 4220, complaints concerning staff programs. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? All right, thank you. That was quickly moving us through the action items. We now have 3 discussion items which are being presented to the board for discussion tonight. If they need action, they will be brought back at the next meeting. The first discussion item is Resolution 19-2002, which is our 2019-2020 WIAA enrollment resolution.
So as you may remember, annually, the board is asked to adopt a resolution that speaks to WIAA membership. This is the group that supervises and regulates extracurricular activities for our district, but also within our.
Given that we just signed that, should we approve it?
I understand the logic to it, but we were going to have Amanda be our rep.
Yeah.
So she is not here.
Okay.
So I would be very hesitant to act on
And there's
this.
time, it doesn't have to be until
Late
June.
June or something. So, yeah. Yeah, this is just a thing we do every year, and you can't, there's nothing really discretionary about it.
Nothing.
If you want to play sports, you're going to do this. Shannon, I wonder, it says list WIAA contact as first there. Okay, so we'll actually sign it again. Does anyone else have any concerns? Okay, great. Then let's move on to the next discussion item, which is our 2019-2020 board meeting schedule.
So a draft is presented for consideration. All the dates are similar to what 2018 session day, board meetings, 4 days. November and December differ to accommodate for school and holiday schedules. The dates for the education showcase was kept them they are not.
The retreat? I briefly looked, but I wasn't.
I will add it.
Yeah, because it's in August, right, generally.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was in July.
I thought July.
Usually it's
Yeah.
July.
So,
All the months are going together.
There's
yeah.
nothing going on in July.
Yeah.
Summer.
Okay.
It is what it is.
Yeah. All right. And then our third and final discussion item this evening is policy 4310, district relationships with law enforcement and other government agents.
So this one does have a title change. And then it also points out that if we have an SRO, we have to have an MOU, which is very common and typical practice in school districts. There is an additional paragraph that you may have noticed, all related to working with immigration and what we can and cannot do. And then there's some other definitions. And then Bob did note that the 4th paragraph, which I would agree that it's helpful. He suggests that we keep it even though it's not WASDA's recommended language, and it's because it speaks to a lot of different things that occur in a school that we would need to work with an agency on, and I think that it helps support that work that we do with.
Any a question that I would have is, we don't currently have an MOU with an SRO.
I don't believe so, but I don't know that.
I don't believe we have one, so.
So we'll develop, there are model MOUs
Okay.
available.
So
Yeah.
the MOU is between the district and
The police department.
the police
An
department?
agency, yeah,
Okay.
whoever, it could be, if it's a,
So it's not just privately
Sure.
like hired
No.
ones, it's if we're doing
Right.
anything with the police
if,
officers.
Right.
if it's with the police department or the sheriff's office.
And so I wonder if the language should, well, maybe it was clear, I'm not looking, now, but clarify who the MOU,
No, you know what, it doesn't say that specifically, but I think that you should clarify that.
Yeah, because when I read it, I was thinking just if we hired one, then I was like, we haven't done that, so why are we?
oh, no, we
But then I
have
didn't
one,
think of
yeah,
We do have one.
No,
Yeah.
it's the MOU that you typically would have with that law.
okay. Yeah, and I just would want to ensure that, I mean, I'm sure if Bob advanced this, he was tracking this and realized that he would need to get one.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. Any other questions about that one? Okay. Well, that brings us to the end of our discussion items. We do have some informational items there, including some procedures that we
This is the Cougar Country Halftime Show.
there is
Now round in the back of field.
and so our business is done. We're adjourned.
Just over an hour.
Well, there were a lot of,
No, that was great. The
Programs.
presentations today were awesome.
Yeah.
Tour of the artwork.
yeah, so,
Otherwise, you would go.
Well done.
Thank you
What'd you say?
for going easy on me.
Roberta, I want you to run meetings more often. You get us up and walking around.
Yeah.
yeah.
Allison, I have a query.
Uh-huh.
Is there anything, and Roberta might be able to pipe in on this, condolences to the school districts that have had school shootings?
Well, when there was the one in Freeman, they sure reached out to Freeman.
There was another one around. That's why I was prompted to think, does the school district ever send a condolence?